Alright, this Huskylock 936 is currently set up for serging, and I'm going to convert it to cover stitch. So I snipped my thread here, but I left it through the pink and purple guides. I cut my needle thread, and now I'm going to take the presser foot off. I've got a little cheat sheet I'm using here. I like to take the presser foot lifter and pull it that extra little ways up. That helps. I'm at a little bit of an awkward angle here, but I'm going to just do my best. So I removed the foot. Now I'm going to remove the plastic pieces here to get into stuff. That one is so stiff. Then I'm going to disengage the knife by pushing this in and spinning it around. If that's not moving freely, you can definitely do that some oil and cleaning. And then I'm going to remove a needle plate. This requires a screwdriver. Use the correct screwdriver. Don't try to use some skinny little thing that's too small or you can't get leverage on and ding up and scratch the screw. Don't. It's worth the time to go get the correct tool. Then I think they come with the correct one. So I'm removing the needle plate. Again, I like lifting out that little extra bit so I'm not scraping on the feed dogs and causing metal on metal. Then I'm going to pull this the stitch finger back. That's this little dowel on top here. I'm just going to pull that straight back. Then I need to disengage this looper here, which is used for serging but not cover stitch. So to do that, you have to sink the needle first. So put the needle all the way down, and then this little lever here where it says S for serging, move it to C, cover stitch. That's kind of intuitive. Then you're going to raise the needle back up and put the cover stitch plate on that looks like this. So I kept that screw in my hand the whole time because I knew I was going to be putting this back on, and yeah, you just don't want to set little stuff like that down. I don't anyway. I tend to lose stuff if I set it down someplace. So I just hang on to it. Alright, so that, as long as you've moved your stitch finger back, that should go right in, and have your needle in the correct position, and you've changed over lowered that looper first, so this will go right in. You have to do this in a certain order. You don't have to do it in exactly the order I'm doing it in, but there's certain things that definitely have to be done before others. Alright, so I've installed the needle plate. Needle plate C, by the way. C for cover stitch. Now I'm going to put the cutting width at 7. So you just turn that, and there's a little triangle there. So you're turning it counterclockwise all the way toward you. That gets it to 7. Then I'm going to replace these little plastic pieces. Then I'm going to change to the cover stitch table. So you just take this and you just push that way. This is the serging table. Again, it's marked with an S. Change to the cover stitch table, which is marked with a C. And I like to keep my eye on that little thing. There's these 2 prongs, and then there's a little thing here on the cover that you put that little thing, put this between here. And then from there, you just watch this little thing and that little prong, and it goes right in. You kind of get used to it. That's a little fussy till you get used to it. So the cover stitch table's on. Now I have to put needles in B and E because I was serging, and I was using the right needle to serge. So I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to snug that up a little. And then I'm going to remove these set screws. Again, use the correct tool. There's, a 1.5 millimeter that little hex thingy that came with this machine, but I just bought a nice new one off Amazon for, I don't know, $7. That way you've got a really good tip that hasn't been mangled by someone who used it incorrectly. So unless, and they do wear out, so unless the one that came with your machine has been cared for, I just use a nice new one. Make sure you can see those needles come up, which is handy, and make sure they're all the way up. That makes a big difference. That is very important. The right needle's a little higher than the left. All right, so let's see, where are we at? Put in the needles, put on foot C. So C for cover stitch. If it doesn't go pop right on, it probably needs to be pulled forward. Sometimes I just lift that toe of it and it'll pop right on there. So now I want to, let's see where I'm at. Thread the cover stitch looper. The path is purple and pink. So I've got this thread here going down through the far right tension guide, and it goes through purple and pink, purple and pink. That's why I didn't pull that out, because I knew it would continue to go through purple and pink. So now I put it on the bottom purple and pink guide there. Then I'm going to zoom in here. That might be helpful, huh? Alright, so I left the thread in this one when I was serging. I cut it right here because that's still going to go through there. And I'm going to make sure we can really see well in there. That looks pretty good. There we go. Maybe a little bit of focus here. Okay, so then you put it through the bottom one there, purple pink, then you put it through this little guide here, purple pink, just the outside, the one on the right. You don't need that one on the left, at least as far as I know. I've never used it. Alright, now you need your cover stitch looper. It is the one that's marked with purple and pink. So rotate your hand wheel all the way so the needles are sunk. Turn the hand wheel toward you, and then there's a little up arrow, a triangle that's pointing up, and if you push that up, that cover stitch looper will move to the right, making it easier for you. Sorry, my hand's in the way. This was the little triangle thing right here. I pushed that up, and then that moved to the right. And so little tweezers are going to help too. So that I put it through the back of that looper, and then to the left there, the eye there. This is really fuzzy. Cut that a little bit there. Then I'm going to put it through the eye. Kind of hard to do this task and keep one's hands out of the camera, but then I'm going to snug that up with about 6 inches of thread left, and then just leave that thread hanging. That doesn't, I'm going to make sure nothing's hung up. So before I close this, I'm going to look at my path and just double check, because sometimes threads will tangle themselves. So that all looks good. So now I can close the door. So now I need to thread the needles, and I'm going to use the same 2 spools. I was doing one stitch serge, or one, I was doing 1 needle serging, so I just, this one here, this green thread just becomes a needle thread. That was my thread for my serging. And I'm gonna, gotta zoom back out here, I guess. So this thread here, that was one of my loopers when I was serging, is now a needle thread, because I'm going to use 2 needles for cover stitch. I'm doing a double. So we just run that through here and here. That's going to go down to the needle. And then this is my other needle, which is going to go, it's already gone through there, but I'll just double check that it's all sunk in there tight. And when I bring these around, I don't know if this is like technically the thing, but there's this little metal bar, and I like to put right here, and I like to put a thread on either side. Some machines don't have that option, and I think it's nice because it keeps the threads a little segregated, and they won't be as likely to twist around each other. That's my theory anyway. I don't know if that's technically any Huskylock threading the way it's supposed to be. It just seems intuitive to me. And then I also, after I thread the needle, I have to do this with my right hand. I'm left-handed, but I'm trying to do this way so I don't block the camera quite as much. After I thread that needle, I push it down through the hole in the presser foot and then make it exit left at 10 o'clock. Some people don't do it. Some people say, hey, it goes down there anyway when you start stitching. And that's true, but it's a little more likely to cause a cluster, in my view, if you just leave them hanging. I don't know. That's what I like to do. The looper, the cover stitch looper, you do leave just hanging down with plenty of extra length. Like I said, I like 6 inches or whatever. But the needle threads, I go ahead, poke them in their little hole in the cover, in the presser foot. Do you not want to go down there? Because I'm just at this awkward angle. Okay, there you go. And then make sure you're through all these little guides up here. Alright, we're almost to the finish line here. Next step is to power the machine on and set your tensions at 663. I'm not doing anything with this because we're only using 2. You could use a third. But since I'm only using these, I'm going to go 6, 3, 3. Now I'm set up for cover stitch. Now, all this readout, all this computer stuff, the only thing this actually controls, all these buttons and all this computer stuff here, is the stitch length and the speed. Speed, you just touch that button if you want to change it. Stitch length, you touch a whole bunch of buttons. And so, but if you don't want to change the stitch length or the speed, you don't have to do anything except for hit A. You don't have to change that or find the stitch or anything. That's just if you want to. Only control stitch length and speed. It'll give you information, but if you don't need that, you know, just start with 6, 6, 3, 3. And we are cover stitching away. That's as easy as it is. That's all there is to it.